Yeah, building a personal brand is super important to anyone in their career. But I think, particularly coming from early careers, if you've never worked in an office or an organization before where you're working with all these different people and they don't know you as well, they haven't perhaps spent the last few years working with you. I think it's super important to get yourself on the right foot from a professional level, but also at a personal level as well. So, again, being curious about other people, what they do, how they show up at work, I think is super important. And then when it comes to crafting a professional and personal brand for yourself, being able to understand what is it I want to be known for. Everyone has their super skill set. You know, there are people that are very organized, and they're the people that get given tasks that require a high level of organization. There are also very creative people who really show that in the way that they, approach projects and put their hands up for those types of tasks. So I think for any young professional who wants to build their personal brand, the first step is just almost listing down or writing down what are the things that really engage you and give you energy, and what are the things that maybe don't give you energy but you want to learn more of. Really understanding what is it I want to be known for, how do I show up these strengths or development areas in the best light, and then putting your hand up for things. I think in the workspace, people are always open to ideas if they come from the right place with the right intentions. So, again, if you are the kind of person who wants to show that you're great at project management skills, perhaps putting your hand up to volunteer to be part of a project. And it's okay if you don't get that project straight away. It might be the next time, but I think showing the willingness and speaking up to tell people what it is that you're interested in and how you'd like to add value is the best way of building a personal brand.
I think that you can find a really great community on platforms like LinkedIn where conversations that are relevant to your industry and what you're doing will really flow, and you can start to be a part of those conversations. And that starts to build your personal brand. You start to become a trusted thought leader in the space, in your bubble that you're talking about. And people will start to look to you for advice. And that puts you in a really powerful position because you've elevated yourself, you've elevated your brand. You're now a trustworthy source of information. Um, Not to mention that when you connect on LinkedIn as well, and then you turn up to a real life networking event, people recognize you. And actually, that makes networking in real life so much easier as well. People say that your personal brand is what people are saying about you when you're not in the room. And I think sometimes when you're coming on to, say, an apprentice scheme or a graduate program where there's lots of you joining all at the same time, a perception can be, oh, they're the grads, oh, the bunch of apprentices, aren't they good? And that's great, but they're talking about individuals as a group. And sometimes it's nice to stand out. And so I think that's the importance of personal branding, is standing out, is talking about what's important to you. And maybe that's not just your career piece, maybe that's the bits on the side that you enjoy in life as well, bringing your personality forwards. And it can be as simple as chatting to your colleagues over a lunch. That's where networking starts. It's not a tick box exercise to be done one time and then it's done and you never have to do it again. It's an ongoing thing that can benefit your career long term.
I feel like you shouldn't have to change yourself too much because I feel like you should always be yourself at work. You should always be who you are deep down, because I feel like falsely representing yourself, you're not being honest to yourself.
Yeah,
And you're not going to enjoy your life if you're always pretending to be someone you're not. So I think it's always important to be confident, honest, and just be yourself.
I could not agree more. Just putting yourself out there as you is the most important thing. You don't want to give someone a false identity. Otherwise, you've got to keep that up, and it's draining. Just be yourself. It's so much more freeing, and people will prefer you when they can tell you're not faking who you are. It definitely gives a much better representation of yourself.
Before you start, actually think, what do you want people to think of you? So do you want to be known for the person that's really helpful, that always has good ideas? And therefore, what do you need to do to model it? So actually be really thoughtful about your personal brand, and therefore also exhibit those behaviours in the workplace, because what you do actually is what people remember you for. And if you're also doing something and you're doing something great, let people know, let your line manager know, because sometimes people are doing great things, but people aren't aware of it. So also, sometimes also being your own salesman.
I love networking. I'll be honest, I genuinely love networking. I like the insights of meeting new people, what they get up to, and just learning about how people find different areas within the industry that I love. Because although I chose the sell side, I want to understand why you may have chosen the sustainability side, or why you may have chose to be an investment, and also learn, like, do people really love what they do? And when you can see that they actually do, it's a very heartwarming thing that people are actually enjoying what they do. And again, you just never know where your paths might align one day, and it's always good to kind of have new safety nets that you can kind of branch around and find a sense of representation within your industry, but also find a sense of belonging, even if it's not found internally within the business. You know that no matter what happens, you feel safe somewhere. And I think that's the most important.
There are always setbacks. I do find platforms like LinkedIn are important. Like if you connect with people on there, you can get more opportunities, and talking about yourself, spreading the good things that you're achieving at work always helps you as well.
I think it's really important to just work out who you are as a person, and that will change and develop, but don't be afraid to show that to other people. When we're recruiting for our apprentices, we always say to the candidates, like, we're going to teach you the skill, so we really want to know who you are as a person, because we're not looking for someone who's well-rounded already and has got everything we need. We just want a good person who's willing to learn. So it's really important when you're looking for these early career opportunities is don't try and be something you're not. Just be you, and show people what talents you've got and what values you hold, and that will really help you build your career.
You know, when I started on the apprenticeship program, you get put in front of some stakeholders and some very powerful people within the business. And for me, it was always, you know, there were some people within the group that would shy away from things and not ask too many questions and whatnot. But I was always one to go in quite confident, ask the questions and make sure that they remembered me whenever they walked past me within the building and whatnot. They remembered my face, and it was a hello. And you never know when these people could become beneficial to you within the workplace, and you might need them at one point or need them to lean on or something. So, you know, impressions and network is super key.
Networking is key in all of this. Like, doing a really good job is definitely very, very important, but you need to be able to build out your network. So the benefit I think you're going to have when you're new into an organisation, and particularly coming into early careers roles, there'll be mechanisms to help you do that, but you've got to take advantage of those things. So be brave, you know, reach out to a manager, reach out to someone and ask for advice. What's the worst that can happen? They can only say no. So make a point of reaching out and taking advantage of any opportunities you've got to network and build out those networks. But remember, there's width of network and depth of network. So don't just think, right, I'm going to have loads and loads of people I'm going to network with, but I don't have any depth with any of those relationships. So also think about who are the people that I really want to have a deep relationship with and build that network that way, as well as having a broad network as well.
To be fair, when I first started at Harrods, and you kind of hear in the professional industry, like, oh, networking and this and the other, and I just thought, I didn't even know what it was, to be honest with you, and I just thought, oh, it's a load of rubbish. But then when you kind of get into a business, when there's so many people, networking is a massive thing. You meet people from all over the business, and then there's also people that come from outside of the business in to learn, and you're meeting different people, contractors and agency staff and things like that. It's such an important thing, because at the end of the day, you never know what the connection with them might bring you at the end of the day.
But I think it's really, really important that young people think about what that professional profile looks like in terms of creating a network of opportunities. You know, if you're out there and if you're making connections, then who knows where that opportunity might lead, and, you know, putting yourself out there, what that could turn into. You know, as Michael Jordan says, we miss 100% of the shots we don't take. So actually putting yourself out there is an important part of finding that next job, getting that promotion, showing people what you're capable of. And I think these digital networks like LinkedIn create that opportunity more than ever before, because you're able to showcase what you're capable of and what you're interested in right in front of the groups of people that are like-minded and need somebody just like you. So it's really important to think, what does my professional brand look like? And also, what does my social brand look like, knowing that the professionals are possibly going to take a look at that if it's part of an interview. And so that's one to think about. You know, when I was young, you know, you could be an idiot and it'd be forgotten because one or two people might see it. You know, these days it's videoed, it's online, it's there forever. So there's just a little bit of thinking about, what do I want forever to look like in terms of that brand that young people have got to deal with that the older generation haven't had to.